So, Nitrocross is dead. In its 4-year lifespan, it managed to show the world that electric cars can be cool, that short course off-road and rallycross can still be relevant, and that Dana White is an absolute Neanderthal when it comes to dealing with the most basic of tasks. Nitrocross came from the ashes of ARX, which came from the ashes of GRC. GRC failed because of mismanagement, poor advertising, and taking off too many tracks and sponsors, while ARX simply couldn't find any sponsors, literally did not even bother advertising, and only had raced on 5 tracks by the end of its 2-year run. Nitrocross, previously known as Nitro Rallycross, had obliterated ARX and was chewing on World Rallycross, taking a handful of their drivers. So how did we get from last season with jam-packed grandstands to possibly losing yet another Rallycross series? Nitro started in 2018 as a replacement to the famous X Games races from GRC. It was a massive success, being the second most viewed rallycross race in the history of the sport. A certain Travis Pastrana created the track design and brought back the gap jump, a feature of GRC tracks that hadn't been seen since the final race of the 2012 season. This would go on to be a staple of rallycross track design. Nitro Rallycross returned in 2019 with upgrades to the track, but it would never host another series again as ARX would shut its doors after a forgettable season. Rallycross as a whole would basically shut down in 2020, but the very next year, a flame ignited in Utah. Nitro Rallycross was back, but as a full-on series with new tracks, sponsors, and drivers. The 2021 season went on to be one of, if not the best seasons, not only Rallycross, but short course off-road racing as a whole. The battle between Subaru and Peugeot was as iconic and memorable as the 2019 World Rallycross season. These races had a lot of heart put into them. You could not only feel the passion everyone had for the sport, but the events as a whole were just a vibe. Watching RX-1 supercars fly across enormous jumps and go fully lit around banked corners was something of a motorsport spectacle. I'll be sure to make a more in-depth video on why this season was such a massive success in the future, so why not subscribe? After 2021 was a huge hit, it was apparent there was a bit of a problem. Subaru and Peugeot had vehicles well equipped for taking on the massive jumps, but a lot of the other cars just didn't have it. Specifically the Audis, which had multiple full suspension collapses. This was an especially large problem when half the grid is running with Audis. Their solution was to bring out electric vehicles for spec racing. Whether you like the decision or not, from 2022, Nitrocross would go fully electric. Obviously, such a radical change so early spooked away a lot of sponsors, and every single manufacturer pulled out, including Subaru. However, going electric meant building a whole new chassis. The FC1 suspension is good. Really good. Along with that, it's a very strong and fast car, 1,000 horsepower across 2 electric motors. During the Linden Hill race in 2022, it managed a time of about 4 seconds slower than the supercars. Of course, this is Rallycross, the Turn 1 drama probably did affect the results, but it's still impressive regardless, and right up there with the faster cars. Admittedly, I took some time to warm up to the new car, but the 2022 season proved it was a capable alternative to RX-1 supercars, and overall, the season was still enjoyable with plenty of good racing. 2023 was not a good sign. Even though Utah was back and better than ever, along with 2 new tracks, the production quality dropped like a rock. The audio mixing was especially bad, Canada was a complete joke, and the whole season was just forgettable at best. Along with that, Rumble bought the series, and yeah, that platform is just not ready. It has a lot of issues to fix. The season had some good on-track action, but just about everything off-track was either stupid or unappealing at best. 2024 somehow seemed to be even worse, with a massive calendar featuring a grand total of 5 races. Along with that, their entire marketing campaign changed to feature AI-generated content, which looked questionable at its best. Still, all was not over. They had brand new, high-profile sponsors and a couple of new tracks. Richmond was not a great track, but it was still entertaining in its own right. Utah was a fantastic race as always, and that's the end of the season. According to staff writer, Miami, Phoenix, and Vegas have all been cancelled for unknown reasons, so while we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, we can certainly take an educated guess from what some inside sources have said. JC posted, the Nitrocross Team Principals Association is disappointed by Thrower's recent decision to pause the Nitrocross series. This decision has significant impacts on our teams, their staff, drivers, and the fans who have passionately supported Nitrocross. The NTPA, representing a united coalition of Group E and Next Evo team owners, is committed to finding a resolution that honors the investments made in the series. We remain open to discussions with Thrill One to ensure a sustainable and successful future for all involved. NCPA is the organization made up of all of these teams. Racer said, Racer understands the decision to halt the season comes amid changes at Nitrocross's parent company, Thrill One, with a view of securing the championship's long-term viability. Racer sources have indicated a recent management change at the parent company, Thrill One, has led to the series' internal workings being reevaluated in order to ensure its viability in the long run. They also mentioned a new vision is required for the brand's long-term future. While it's not an obvious answer, one theory is that Dana White can't manage money and Nitrocross is broke. I highly doubt they made the same mistake GRC did, considering how much homework they did on them, and they definitely didn't tick off one track in particular, otherwise they would have only canned the one round, not all of them. Along with also viewing the wide range of sponsors they're partnered with, it simply does not add up. I also think that some of the drivers are defecting over to World Rallycross. After being the laughingstock of the discipline for about 3 years now, they really seem to be reinventing themselves, adding new tracks to the calendar, making new sponsorships, and listening to their fans. Compare that to Nitrocross. They were successful up until Dana White showed up in 2023. I think this commenter sums it up nicely. It would not surprise me if the atmosphere change did start to scare away the European guys. Why should they stick around in a hostile environment when they could cut their losses and move back into World Rallycross? This is especially true if World Rallycross allows the FC1 and FC2 to compete. Both vehicles are extremely competitive, and it would seem like a waste if we have these new Rallycross cars and couldn't use them, especially considering the FC2 is just a rear-engine RX-1 supercar. They could make some big moves right now if they capitalize on this. Along with that, many people commented on the lack of American drivers in a mainly American series. All I can think of is Connor Martel, Leah Block, and Tanner Faust. Everyone else is coming from different countries. There are still a lot of American drivers, but they're all in subcategories which are really overshadowed by Group E. It should also be noted that they didn't really have any long-standing events aside from Utah and Phoenix. Otherwise, every track just hasn't lasted on the calendar very long. Oklahoma was supposed to be the next big thing, but nobody even raced on it this year. So I had a whole section fully voiced out about where Nitrocross could go next and how they could save the series, but nah, they're toast. Rally X TV just announced Rally X America's League. Might want to work on that name. It's a 6-race calendar starting in October 2025, while Rally X works more on getting the European expansion settled. Details are scarce, but Rally X is basically the future of Rallycross in America. Nitrocross has said nothing about their sudden disappearance, and World Rallycross just got put up for sale. What is even happening at this point? Rally X TV just put themselves in a very good spot, as while everyone else is going through some major change or disappearing entirely, Rally X is consistent, free on YouTube, and steadily growing. I cannot wait for October next year, and for what the future of Rallycross has to offer in America. I can imagine some of the Nitrocross tracks returning, as the top teams will still be using the FC1. It's likely Utah and Firebird will stay on the schedule, along with older tracks like Glen Helen and ERX. I can also see them going to venues used by ARX such as Gateway and Mid-Ohio, smaller tracks that don't get as much global recognition as they could. I can also see Subaru making a grand return to Rallycross to challenge Dodge, along with the Stadium Super Truck Series striking a deal with them, but for the moment this is all just speculation. It's kind of funny, we're now on to our 4th American Rallycross series, and all 3 have folded for various reasons. GRC folded from money problems, ARX folded because nobody cared, NRX will fold because of Dana White and his uncontrolled greed. Although that's to be expected from someone who tried to buy NASCAR. You know what, maybe it's a good thing NRX is gone. Getting Dana White out of power is an enormous leap forward for American Rallycross. You know what, good riddance. I'm done. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and go watch Rally X.